My mom used to say, the days are long, but the years are short. 14 years ago, I sat in your seat. 14 years ago, what I was hoping is that a speaker, a teacher, an instructor, and another student, somebody was going to see my struggle, and they were going to speak to that struggle. So today, my job isn't to leave you comfortable. Today, my job is to stir your soul, to remind you of the vision that you have for your life right now. My job is to remind you of the dream that brought you here. I am, as you heard, a mom of 3 amazing children, 27, 23, and 19. And I'm extremely blessed to be their mom. I am an entrepreneur, a business owner, a successful practice. I'm a podcast host and now a published author. And I feel so incredibly blessed. And in order for you to appreciate how good life is now, then you had to know what a mess it was before. 15 years ago, I had what I felt was a calling. 15 years ago, I had something that was pulling on me and my heart. But I was also 36. And I had 3 kids, 2 dogs, a house, a husband. I had grown people responsibilities. And yet that calling was asking me to come to Atlanta, Georgia, a state I had never been in. And when I shared it with my husband, he said, have you ever been to the South? Do you know the history? Do you understand what that means? And I hadn't. And I still had a calling. And nobody wanted to go. Not my husband, not my 3 kids, certainly not our friends and our family. Nobody wanted for us to go. And yet I pushed. And I fought tooth and nail to get to this city. And if I'm honest, when we got here, it wasn't what I expected. When I got here, it wasn't even what I had hoped for. It was August. It was hotter than hell. And my kids didn't love their new school, hated our new house. It took my 13-year-old exactly 1 week to become fluent in Ebonics and forget where his waist was. So a week into us being there, I can't understand the boy, and I don't understand why he's sagging. That's not a thing that we came from. We were the vegetarian, holistic, go to a naturopath, kids born at home with a midwife, California hippies. And here we were in this state in which that they had these 300-gallon barbecue smoke pits that some dude towed on the back of his pickup truck, and it was now parked at a gas station. Billows of smoke is coming everywhere, and they're selling pounds and pounds of dead things. We're in a city that puts pork, bacon on macaroni and cheese. Like, we can't even go to like the regular events because there's nothing for us to eat. And my kids are sad and they miss their friends and their family, and I am unsettled because this isn't what I thought it was going to look like. So let me just share with you what my calling was. My background is in midwifery, and as an advocate for natural childbirth, what I was looking to do was to support other women to birth in the way that they chose, and not for a hospital to medicalize their condition, but to give them the freedom and the choices that I and my close-knit friends had when we chose to birth at home. And so I was super excited because Emory University has only one of 4 universities in the entire country that has a midwifery master's program. And with a master's in midwifery, I can open up my own birthing center. And this was the dream, and this is what I felt like I was called to do, and I was so excited about it. And then Emory said no. But I had moved my entire family here. I had told people exactly what my vision and my dream was, and I was certain where I was going. And so all of this comes to fruition, and I'm sitting in the back of a PTA meeting at a school that I do not want my kids at, seething about where my life is currently at and what a mess I feel that I have created for my entire family. And I'm mad at God because what I figured is that I had answered the call, I had done the work, I had done the thing. And it's 2008. And some of you might remember that in 2008, the economy crashed. So 6 months after we get here, we go from 6 figures to food stamps. So I'm sitting in that PTA meeting, mad and depressed, and I feel like I've made all the wrong choices, and I am not the adult that my parents raised me to be. And then I hear this woman, and she starts talking about the food that the cafeteria is feeding the kids. And I perk up because I'm interested in why that she's talking about the food that the kids are eating, because I can tell that the way that she's speaking so passionately about this food and the lack of nutrition, and that kids that are coming to school and they're relying on the school to feed them are feeding them trash, and how are the kids supposed to concentrate and focus alone being healthy? And I want to know somebody like that. I want to know somebody who cares enough about the kids' health, because her kid wasn't eating the food, and I certainly wasn't sending my kids to school eating the food, but I want to know somebody who cares that much. And so after the meeting, I went up and I introduced myself, and we chatted, and I felt like I had my first friend here, and I was excited. And she happened to mention she was a chiropractor, and I smiled, because I don't know what a chiropractor is, but I don't want to upset my new best friend. And then I run into her the next day at carpool, and we start chatting, and we do what women do. We talk for like 2 hours, and we share everything. And I feel like in this moment that I can share with her a health crisis that my 13-year-old is currently experiencing. See, 2 months before we moved, my son was playing on a 5-foot cinder block wall. And I keep telling him, get down, get down, get down. He's a 13-year-old boy. He's not listening until he falls. And he falls off of the wall onto a concrete sidewalk on his back. and he paralyzes himself. And I'm terrified. And I do what every neurosurgeon tells you never to do. Me and the friend that I was visiting their house, her husband and I scooped the boy up, put him into the minivan. My husband is on a business trip. He's in New York. I'm by myself. They keep the two younger babies. And I pace the floors of the emergency room, waiting room for 3 hours, begging and pleading. Let him be okay. Let this not be the end of his story. Let him be okay. And 3 hours later, the doctors come out and they say, no need to worry, Mrs. Olatunji. Your son's going to be fine. There's no broken bones. There's no internal bleeding. Your son is going to be fine. He's just in shock. Give him time and his body will heal. And that's exactly what happens. 2 months later, he's fully functional. He's out doing all the things that teenage boys do, which gives moms of teenage boys gray hairs. He's doing all the things. And so I don't remember the fall when his headaches start. And I don't remember the fall when the headaches turn to migraines. And I don't remember the fall when we go to the naturopath and then the homeopath and then the herbalist. And then we go to the pediatrician because none of that worked. And then we go from the pediatrician to the orthopedist because that didn't work. And by the time we get the referral to the neurosurgeon, I don't remember the fall, but I do know that we've got a handful of prescriptions and a bunch of side effects, and the boy is no better. And what I tell my new best friend at the carpool line that day was that I spend my nights on my knees praying for this boy because I don't know how to help him and I can't solve his problem. And she says, you should bring him to our practice. My husband and I, we have a practice. You should bring him there. And I smile. Because I don't know what a chiropractor does, but I'm certain she's not going to be able to help my kid. But I also don't want to offend my new best friend. She had given me her business card, and I had left to go home because I have to find another path, another route. Emery said, no, I need to figure out what the hell I'm going to do now. And so I'm searching online, and I find this website that's talking about health from the inside out, and they're talking about how that the body heals, and they're talking about vitalistic ideas that we have been raising our children with, and we believe for the last 15 years, like this is so exciting. But then I get really nervous because what if they don't have a nursing program? What if I just have to start right back to square one? And so I close the browser quickly because I just can't deal with another moment of letdown and rejection. But before I close it, I noticed that the school was in Marietta. And I remember the woman saying something about going to school in Marietta. And I pull out the business card, and it's still rather early in the morning. And I call the practice, and her husband answers. And I don't tell him who I am. I just asked for her, and he said she's not in yet. And I told him that I would call back, and I did 5 times. On the 5th time that I called, he said, lady, my wife isn't in. She's probably not going to be in till later this afternoon. Is there something I can help you with? And I said, I don't know if you remember or not, but could you tell me, where did your wife go to school at? Do you remember? She said something about Marietta. And he said, do you mean the school that my parents founded? Yes, that's cool. He said, my wife has told me about you, because at this point I have told him my name because I called him 5 times. He said, my wife has told me all about you and your son, and we've talked about your son, and we believe that we can help your son. He said, do you remember what my wife told you this morning? And I said, yes. Standing in the parking lot near tears, she said, I can see that you're hurting. I know that feeling. I'm a mom too. I know that you've tried everything. What could this possibly hurt, you bringing your son? And it changed everything for me when he reminded me, because I wasn't thinking about that when she told me. I was too worried about a word that I didn't understand, chiropractic. That didn't make any sense to me. And because I didn't know, I had made up these ideas about what it was. And yet this man was on the phone telling me he believed that he could help my son. And so I drugged my husband down to their practice, and we spent 2 hours with Dr. Sid Jr. and his wife, Noelle. And they told us the chiropractic story, and they told us about how that the body worked, and about above, down, inside, out, and that they believed that they could help. And so they took x-rays. And even I, who didn't spend any time looking at x-rays, even I could tell when he pointed it out that that top bone was in fact significantly misaligned. And when he asked me something that no other doctor, no other healthcare provider had asked in the 6 months that we have been going through this, does it make sense that if this bone is shifted and is putting pressure on the brainstem, that your son would have these migraines? And it did. And so Kamau received his very first neurological adjustment that day. It was an upper cervical adjustment. And so Dr. Sid Jr. puts him in his sleeping room after the adjustment, and when it is time for him to wake up, he sends me in to get my son. And so I walk into the room, and I get the boy up, and I said, how do you feel? Because he walked in with a migraine, because it's just another day in our house. And he said, I feel great. And I was like, no, really, there's nobody in here. Like, it's just us. How do you feel? And he said, Mom, I feel great. He hasn't felt great for 6 months. There has not been a day for which my son has said he feels great. There hasn't been a day that he hasn't complained. There hasn't been a day that the light hasn't bothered him. There hasn't been a day that he hasn't been nauseous from the pain. There hasn't been a great day. And he said, I feel great. But I'm a little skeptical. So I think the migraine's going to come back tonight. And when it doesn't, and then the next morning he wakes up and he doesn't have a migraine, and then we take him out and back and he gets adjusted again and the migraines don't come, and then we take him back and he gets adjusted again and the migraines don't come, and then we take him back again and the migraines don't come. And at this point we have best friends. And so our family is hanging out with their family, and we go to DE, and Dr. Sid Sr. comes to the office sometimes, and he sits with me while Kamau is either getting adjusted or he is resting. And at the end of 3 weeks, we're sitting in the chairs, just waiting. It's him and I. He knows my story. He knows that I'm lost. He knows that I don't have a solution about where I'm going next. And he asks, in his big southern gruff voice, so what are you going to do now? And in that moment, everything came to this very clear point for which that I knew in that moment, because what I believed when we took Kamau to Dr. Sid Jr.'s office, that maybe the calling that I had heard wasn't about me. It wasn't about my career and my profession. Maybe we had relocated all this way so that Kamau could get the healing he needed. And in those chairs in the waiting room, trying to figure out the answer that I'm going to give to Dr. Sid, what came was, I'm going to chiropractic school. And he said, "You're damn right you are." And that's what I did. Remember, it's 2008, and the economy has crashed. So my family is struggling, and not everybody is a believer. Not everybody believes that I'm doing the right thing. Not everybody is going to believe in the dreams that you have for yourself. Not everybody believes in the vision that you have. Not everybody sees your vision because it's not theirs, it's yours. This is what I know to be 100% true. That your struggles are not here to destroy you. Your struggles are here to strengthen you. For those who don't believe in your vision, it's fine. It wasn't given to them. It's not easy, and it takes courage to have faith when it's dark. It takes courage to lead when you feel like you need to be led. It takes an insane amount of faith to put one foot in front of the other when everybody else around you might be telling you that it's not a great idea. And this is what I know. That you have been called to lead. You have been called to inspire. You have been called to heal. You have been called to give hope back. You have been called to remind people that their health is their one true asset. You have been called to lead when nobody else believes. You've been called to remind people of who it is that they truly are. And sometimes that's tough. And sometimes it doesn't look the way that you think that it's going to look. And in my house, it didn't look the way that I thought that it was going to look. My husband had lost his job. No other job was coming. No one was hiring. The economy is in a downward spiral. We've gone through the 401k, the savings. Everything is gone. We're on food stamps, and I don't know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. We faced eviction more times than I care to admit. There were more no's than there were yeses. Sometimes the utilities got cut off. And having to admit to my children that there wasn't going to be any water when you turned on the valve. It wasn't the plumber's fault. And you can keep turning on the light switch, but there is no light. And having to go across the street to our neighbors who are our friends and ask them if our children can shower in the mornings before school was one of the most humiliating things. And yet, I knew that I had been called to do something greater. And so amidst all of the stress, amidst the trying to figure out how a family of 5 lives off of a grad plus loans that are meant for 1, I show up every single day here at some ridiculous time in the morning because we only have 1 car, so I have to be here early. Every single day I show up because what I believed to be true in that moment was that I was the one that had to rescue my family. I was the one, so I had to show up, and I had to pass my classes and pass boards, and I had to graduate, and if I graduated and I opened a practice, and if I was successful, I could be the financial solution for my family, that I could be that one, that it was up to me. And I was passionate about what it was that I was doing because my son had had an entire health crisis resolved by nobody else except a chiropractor. So I was on a mission, but that didn't make it easy. And so I'm here to remind you today that it's not going to be easy. It was never meant to be easy. If you have a meaningful pursuit that you are striving for, it's not going to be easy. Life isn't going to get easy. Boards aren't going to get easy. Dr. Bordini and Dr. Fox are not going to get easy. Anybody in here want to admit that they've questioned their purpose, their doubts? Ever wonder if you're going to be able to communicate this chiropractic message off of the chiropractic island? Anybody want to admit that sometimes you've got doubts? Every single day I showed up because despite the doubts, but despite not knowing if that I was truly going to be that person for my family, I had to show up. Reverend Michael Beckwith says, pain pushes you until your vision pulls you. Pain was pushing me, and I had a vision. That vision had to be the thing that pulled me through, and what I'm sharing with you is not just some moments to be vulnerable up here. I'm sharing them with you because it's important that you see somebody who sat in your seat, because that's what I was looking for when I sat in your seat. That life wasn't easy, and sometimes it sucked. And I got up anyways. And I'm here to share it with you because I believe that you have everything in you now to be able to pursue and achieve the dream and the goals and the vision you have for you, because it was placed on your heart, because you have what it takes. And if I get to spend a few moments with you reminding you of how important that is, because there are going to be moments, if you haven't had them already, which of course I believe you have, where you doubted. Let me remind you that it's important what you're doing. It's vital what you're doing. Please keep pushing forward, because there are people that are waiting for you and your message in only the way that you can deliver it. I don't know if Dr. Noel had been somebody else, if I would have heard her message in the way that I needed to. But what I'm 100% clear about is that I did hear the message, and that I showed up, and I kept putting one foot in front of the other. Because here's the truth. For me, quitting wasn't an option. What were my kids going to do? And somewhere in that really ugly path, something broke inside my husband. Because he used to define himself as a provider, and when he no longer could do that, it changed him and it changed us. And so going to school amidst financial stresses that were beyond my capabilities of even wrapping my brain around, having the stress of a relationship that was also dissolving right in front of me. So what I knew is that I had to keep putting one foot in front of the other because quitting was not an option. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. You need to be reminded that quitting is not an option. Plan B your whole life is never going to get you where you want to be. And I had to be reminded of that myself so many times. And my two biggest cheerleaders were my mom and my dad. And halfway through the program, my dad died suddenly. And on that same exact day, my mother was diagnosed with 4-stage lung cancer with 3 months to live. It's never going to get easy, but your struggles are not here to destroy you. They are here to strengthen you. Don't look for it to get easy. Instead, become a person who does hard shit. Become a person who does hard well. You continuing and pursuing your passions and your dreams and your vision is necessary. And nobody promised that it would be easy. Two years ago, I thought I had solved the Rubik's Cube to life. I was on top of the world. I had managed to graduate, and I had managed to open a practice, and I had managed to make it successful, and I had survived the divorce, and I had raised my kids, and my youngest knew exactly what he was doing and for his career, and he was super excited, and he was headed to college to become a pilot, and I was so excited for him, and I'm in this brand new space of, oh my God, I'm an empty nester, and life is good. Life is so good. And then life punches me in my face so hard that I feel things shatter. And it takes an entire support tribe and countless hours of therapy to claw my way out of another damn hole. Your struggle is not here to destroy you. Your struggles are here to strengthen you. Because I got a whole damn published book out of that drama. In order to know how good life is now, you have to know how hard it was before. And being and becoming a published author had always been a dream of mine. Only, I wasn't even a journaler. So I didn't tell anybody that I had a dream of becoming a published author. It was just something I kept to myself in secret. Sometimes in the darkest hours, in the darkest moments is when you find your strength. When you find the thing that's going to get you through so that you can extract that wisdom, and then you can take from the experience the wisdom that you have so that you can go and do the thing that you have been called to do. Do yourself a favor. Surround yourself with an amazing support tribe who is going to remind you of the things that you know to be true about yourself. Fill your mind with positive things. So that when pain stops pushing you, your vision is what pulls you forward. Remember that your struggle is only here to strengthen you. Remember that it isn't supposed to be easy, but you're becoming a person who does hard well. My job today was not to leave you comfortable. My job today was to stir your soul and remind you of who it is that you are. Because you come as one, but you stand as 10,000. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naeema, for sharing with us today, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.